Hey, John.
Hey, Eric. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. Doing well.
Well is not as good as
Recovering.
fantastic.
I'm in recovering.
In recovery. Okay.
In recovery. Yeah, it was
All
Memorial
right.
Day weekend.
It was a great long weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I had mentioned that I had some family coming into town,
Yep.
including two little boys, toddlers,
Okay.
full of energy.
Vim and vigor.
Yes. And I realized I am not as young as I used to be. But it was all good. It was a lot of fun to have them in town. We took them on did some of the touristy things. We went and saw Multnomah Falls. Got to see the waterfall and
Lovely
took 'em
little
out to the
hike.
coast. Yeah, took them out to the coast. Talk about another lovely little hike. We went to Short Sands Beach. I don't know. Have you ever been to Short Sands?
I don't know. I don't think so. Where's that?
So it's south of Cannon Beach.
Okay.
It's in I just
South of
spaced the
Arcadia?
name of I'm spacing the name of the park area it's at. Anyways, about 15 minutes south of Cannon Beach.
Okay.
And you park along the road, and the road's kind of set back from the beach quite a bit, and then there is a beautiful hike, like through the Lord of the Rings type hike, trees and that you walk around and through, and just a gorgeous little hike to get down to the beach. And then the beach is kind of on this inlet in a cove almost.
Okay.
You can see both edges, and so we took them there, and it's
Idyllic.
just a gorgeous beach. We saw whales.
What?
So we were out there. So I didn't see, I caught a glimpse of a whale coming out of the water just slightly, like off in the horizon, like out past the break, right? So it's not like
Sure.
I wasn't getting in the water. It was cold. But we saw, the spray several
Spouts.
times come up, and it was fun. It was a fun thing to share and, point out, I think even the little boys got to see the spouts once, and they didn't know what it was. They're just like, ooh, water. Like, yeah, that's a whale. And there were like some sea life that had washed up on the beach, and anemones and whatnot, that were close enough as it was low tide that they got to look at very close. So
That's awesome.
it was fun.
That's awesome. Fun. Oregon at its best.
Yes. And slightly chilly, but that's Oregon.
Yeah. It's not Arizona. It's not,
No, that's where they came from a rather warm Arizona. I think my nephew mentioned that it had just hit 100 there when they left. I'm like, yeah,
it'll hit 100 here occasionally, but yeah.
Everybody stays indoors.
Exactly.
And then for Memorial Day, I tried making beef ribs. So I did a dry rub the night before and then put them in my fancy Real Fire smoker. And they turned out really good. They weren't fall off the bone tender. They didn't fall off the bone, but they were still super tasty. And I'm going to have to try it again. I've already thought of some things I can do.
Did you cook them in foil?
So I cooked them for 2 hours out of foil.
Okay.
With the ribs down, and then took them out, put them in foil, then put them back in the smoker, upside down at that point, for another, no, it was a little over 2 hours not. So they got a nice, I don't know, you call it bark on them or whatever it is. You get a nice crisp on them, and then put them on foil, and then they kind of tenderized a bit. But we'll see. They were good enough that everybody in the family said, "Ooh, you need to do that again." So
more experimentation necessary.
More experimentation will be had. Yes. So.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm gonna have to try pork ribs next. The beef ribs were very tasty.
I really do like pork ribs. I know I have beef ribs in the freezer, but I much prefer pork ribs. Particularly Costco's, they've got a lot of meat on the bone, so to speak. Anyway,
That's where I got the
Costco ribs are awesome. It's good.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
How was your holiday weekend?
It was good. It was super good. Sunday we actually drove to Bend, my wife and I. Kids were doing other stuff, and we just kind of took a drive and just to kind of do some sightseeing and stuff like that. So that was kind of the fun day away. But the rest of the days I mostly worked around the house and around the place. But I have major B news. News. Well,
good news, I hope.
Yeah, mostly ish. I think like TBD.
Okay.
The arrow has left the bow. We'll see. So in the interest, I'm not allowed to check for that one split until next weekend. So the 3rd. Right. But in the interest of I want to experiment and I want to do other things. I decided this past Saturday that I would start it if they were strong enough. I would start a split off of the strongest of the nukes, and basically to start at least raising some queen cells by putting some eggs up above a Snellgrove board so that they didn't have a queen, and so I did that. I went out, lit my smoker, went to the colony that I wanted to do this on, did a quick little inspection, found the queen, caged her, and then did what I wanted to do. And I was like, cool. And I had to not put on a mite treatment this week because I want to put honey supers on next week. So got to leave it for a week, which is good. The last 3 weeks have been mite treatments. And then so I decided I wasn't going to dig into the other nuke, the other new one, from this year. But I did just want to tip it back just to make sure that it wasn't about to swarm. And sure enough, there were swarm cells. I tipped it back and I'm like, crap, there are queen cells. And I'm looking carefully in them like, not only are there queen cups. So a queen cup is when they're creating a cup, but they call it a cell once there's a egg, or worse than an egg, a larva with a large larva with a lot of royal jelly in it. So like they were preparing to swarm. So and they're an egg for 3 days, and those larvae were not 1 day old larvae. So I'm gonna guess that those larvae were on minimum day 4, maximum day 6. So call it day 5. 5 out of 16, I think. And so I was like, crap, what am I going to do now? So I put it back down and I'm like, okay, well, I don't want them to swarm.
Can you stop them from swarming? Is there mitigation plans?
There is. So the mitigation plan is you take away the queen. You basically force a, quote, artificial swarm by taking the queen out with none of the swarm cells, generally no other brood, but a bunch of other bees, because she can lay eggs, obviously. And so it sort of forces a artificial swarm. And then the bees that are left behind are like, they're already raising queen cells, but they don't have a queen to swarm off with. They just, done well and done as expected, it would be that they finish raising up a queen and then they stay. So, but
okay.
So I basically I put down the smoker, put down the hive tool, hop back in the mule, drive back to the barn, get out a nuke box, and then I actually got out a queen castle as well, and brought them back, and then I took dug in, found the queen, caged her, split her off into the nuke box with some other bees and resources, but not larvae. and not not larva, and no queen cells. And then there were 3 other frames in that box that each had 2 queen cells on it. So I basically made 2 more splits just with 2 frames, one of which was a resource frame and one of which was one of the frames that had 2 queen cells on it into the queen castle. And so net, I have, it's all a probability speak. So I have somewhere between 2, well, let's say 1, because, now 2. 2 and 4 plus this. 2 and 7 hives or colonies at the moment, which is not bad, having started with like 3,
wow.
I guess. So, because basically out of that one that was going to swarm, I now have up to 4, because the queen's in one soft by herself. They might raise 2 more queens with the 2 separate frames with queen cells on them, and then the original colony is still there with 2 more queen cells that will raise another queen, maybe. But you never know. Like, the odds are that only 75% of queens come back mated and lay. So, some of those will probably fail, and we'll see. So anyway, but I did not intend on doing that, and it wound up being a lot longer in the suit on Saturday than I had planned, which was pretty warm, to be honest.
I was going to say, it was pretty warm on Saturday.
Yeah, but it was all good, and I'm super excited. So this weekend, I'm gonna check a bunch of stuff, see if one queen is back and laying, check and see if the queen cells are continued in all 3 of those other colonies, and if so, I'll just have to leave them alone for another 3 weeks. But
all right,
we'll see. Anyway, this
stuff.
has been Bee Talk with John King. Okay,
mostly bees.
Mostly bees.
Podcast.
But there you go. Anyway, that was my fun thing this weekend. Other than we watched the D&D movie, and my son, who plays a lot of D&D, gave us the play-by-play. We were like, no, critique after the movie. But it was good.
I had a slightly similar situation where after the movie, my daughter was telling me, and that's why this was funny, and that's why this happened to this person, and that's this and this and this. So, fun.
So but yeah, it was good. Oh,
yeah, it was kind of fun,
I enjoyed it. Yeah, it was good. It was fun. What's the bad guy's name? The actor? I messed you up.
Hugh Grant.
British. Hugh Grant. Yes.
Yeah.
He plays a good bad guy.
He does.
He plays a good bad guy.
He's a good bad guy.
Yeah. I mean, because, yeah. But I really did like the Harper, Captain Kirk. He was probably my favorite character.
Chris Pine.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm really awful with actors' names.
My wife's favorite as well.
But yeah, that was funny. Although the paladin was really good. They were like, he's just going to walk in a straight line, isn't he? Yep.
Yep. Yeah, that was pretty fun.
That was pretty awesome. Anyway, okay, that was fun.
All right.
How about topics instead of bees?
All right. So, what I saw this week actually came from a CBS News article. You remember the ABC, NBC, CBS, when you used to get television over the air and not on your phone through some digital app.
Bunny ears?
Yeah. The bunny ears and pushing buttons and turning a dial on the TV instead of pushing buttons.
Channel 6.
Yeah. 60 Minutes. So this is, a show for old people. 60 Minutes. I saw this article. Right?
Well, you did say you're an old person.
I am an old person. Anyways, they had a news report on digital theft. So we've talked about this before. And what's interesting is this one, they actually played it out to see if this hacker could actually fool a staffer of CBS, 60 Minutes. And so the 60 Minute staffer got a call that appeared to be from a correspondent, and she picked up. And the voice on the other end was generated by AI to mimic the correspondent's voice. Okay. So, of course, she, the staffer knew this person, and, there's plenty of audio about this correspondent because clips from television are all over the place for this person. So they were able to create an artificial intelligence, and they fake the audio in real time to this staffer, saying, "Hey, sorry, I need my passport number because the Ukraine trip is now on. Can you read it out to me?" And so, the person doing the call, it was actually Rachel Tobach, an ethical hacker and CEO of the data protection firm Social Proof Security. And Tobach advises companies and private citizens on their vulnerabilities, was hired by 60 Minutes to show how easy it is to use information found online to scam somebody. So this public figure, the correspondent, whose voice is out there with many recordings, but anybody's voice can be hacked. And I think the article in a whole, and you can watch the short video that goes along with it, is very interesting.
It's really easy these days to
hold on.
Take somebody's voice and, use AI generation to have, train a AI to say whatever you want, hypothetically, in their voice. I can type whatever I want, and it will read the words. Yeah.
Anyways, the thing that poked out there is you can read or watch the short video.
Someday, you and I should do a podcast where we type out what we say, and then we just have the AI do it. I think that would be pretty fun.
I think you should be me, and I should be you.
Ooh.
Or we do a podcast where I am some celebrity and you're some celebrity. The entire podcast.
Ooh.
This is getting
okay.
Interesting
Could be fun. Could be fun.
Anyway, so you can watch the video, read the article. It's a CBS News article, and the thing that the stat that I wanted to pull out is, most hacks, even today, still are some sort of social engineering or human-based type of hacking, because that's the easiest thing to do.
Yeah.
The stat is around 95% of hacks today happen after a user clicks on a text or a link or shares personal information over the phone. So most of the hacks are not deep state infiltrating your phone and
hacker
putting
in a hoodie.
Yeah, no, it's someone who's got a phone number, and you call them and say, "Hey, who is this number?" "Oh, it's the FBI."
Or tech support scams.
Yeah. Tech support scams, or, I just, got in an auto accident. I'm going to go to jail. Can you send me bail money? Whatever.
Yeah.
So anyways, it was just a reminder that it goes through also in being as CBS News is for old people. 60 Minutes is for old people. It does talk about the grandparent scam, kind of puts that in details about a lot of these hackers go after older folks because they're generally much more trusting and willing to help out than younger folks. But even the ethical hacker, Rachel Tobach, said when she's done this before, everyone falls for her scam. Being able to have a voice mimic whoever is a trusted figure,
right,
and knows their cell phone number, you're just going to believe what they ask for.
You think that you know, somebody's voice for sure.
Mm-hmm. All right. So that's what I got for this week.
Okay, that's a good one.
Don't be old.
It happens to everyone, my friend. Well, you're lucky if it does.
It's currently happening to me.
I see you're feeling your mortality. Okay. It's good. It's good.
Exactly.
Okay, so I I did a link that I got off of, I think that it was a Risky Biz newsletter or something like that. But the PyPi, the Python repository actually shut down new accounts a week or so ago because of unmanageable influx of fraudulent accounts and accounts being compromised. And so the link that I'll put in here was from just a couple days ago. Was it 5/25? So last week. That says that they have threatened in the past, and they actually, I think, required the top 1% or so of packages, package maintainers to have two-factor authentication. But now, before the end of 2023, every maintainer of any project or organization on PyPi is going to be required to enable two-factor authentication. So they're gradually rolling it out. I mean, they've had two-factor for a long time. You can optionally do into this. They mandated it for packages with certain popularity. But from now till the end of the year, they're going to start gating functionality on the site. That will require two-factor authentication. And then, when, you as a project maintainer go to do whatever that is, if you haven't already set up two-factor auth, you'll have to set that up before you can, complete that task. But then by the end of the year, the expectation or the requirement is going to be that all accounts that maintain any project or organization will enable two-factor authentication or presumably be disabled.
Smart.
Yeah. Very, very good
foresight.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's late, but better now than next year, and
Yep.
And who knows? I mean, they did say in the article that the work that they've done with other accounts over the last year and a half or more has given them more confidence in their two-factor capability and improved things to where they feel they can scale it without negative repercussions. So, the main thing this is trying to protect against for this, at the end of the day, it is, supply chain attacks, but, that starts with an account takeover. And so there's a bunch of information in here about account takeover attacks. And, generally, account takeover attacks are gotten into, or accounts are gotten into from an insecure password in general.
Right.
It might have been, maybe it was secure, but it was in a data breach and was reused or, whatever else it is. So use a password manager. But when a account that maintains a package on a site like PyPi is compromised, they can then, do things to that account, such as upload malicious code that will wind up, getting pulled into other packages potentially, or by developers around the world potentially, and have the users of that package, the users are compromised. And, this has happened many times. We've talked about these a number of times on the podcast, obviously. But, two-factor authentication, the quote is, and I know you have been an advocate of this for even longer, but two-factor authentication neutralizes the risk of a compromised password because that's not sufficient to give access to the account. So best not to use SMS if the second factor is one that's more easily compromised, that's not a great thing, but still two factors generally better. Okay, but
Yeah.
the last thing I pulled out of this article that I thought they did a great job of kind of tackling head on is some of the pushback they got evidently last year was around it's too much hassle and too much work for individuals and individual developers to go through these security hurdles. Isn't things like supply chain security just for corporations, not for, individual developers? And I loved how they attacked this, or how they approached their answer. I'm going to read it because I thought it was so good. There are some people who believe that efforts to improve supply chain security benefits only corporate or business users, and that individual developers should not be asked to take on an uncompensated burden for their benefit. We believe this is short-sighted. A compromise in the supply chain can be used to attack individual developers the same as it is able to attack corporate and business users. In fact, we believe that individual developers are in a more vulnerable position than corporate and business users. While businesses are generally able to hire staff and devote resources to vetting their dependencies, individual developers generally are not and must expend their own limited free time to do so. To make matters worse for the individual, in the case of a compromise, a business is more likely going to have experts available to them to detect and remediate the compromise, while the individual has to do this on their own. At the extreme ends, businesses often have insurance to compensate them for any losses incurred, while the individual almost certainly does not. We recognize that supply chain security affects everyone, no matter how big or small they are, and we are dedicated to protecting all our users.
Well put.
I love it. So that sort of last paragraph is why this is my topic of the week. I thought this was just fantastic. So,
cool.
Yeah, good on PyPi. There was a lot more data in the article than I pulled out, but that was what I thought was the cogent parts for me. So there you go.
Alrighty.
I only brought one this week.
Well, you ready for something fun?
I'm always ready for something fun.
Have you ever heard of the Dragonfly telephoto array?
I have not heard of the Dragonfly telephoto array.
Click on the first link there.
Okay.
The Dragonfly telephoto array. Anyways, this is a novel telescope. I'm going to read here. Concept designed to image large and extremely faint structures in the night sky. These structures hold important clues to the distribution of and nature of dark matter, the elusive substance whose contribution to the total mass energy density of the universe is 5 times higher than that of normal matter. These structures are hard to see with conventional telescopes due to the combination of scattered light from bright stars and their mosaic detectors. Dragonfly harnesses the power of commercially available high-end telephoto lenses to address these issues. The latest generation of Canon 400mm lenses have superb anti-reflection properties owing to one of the first applications of nanofabricated coatings with sub-wavelength structures on optical glasses. Furthermore, each lens is equipped with a single monolithic wide field detector covering 6 square degrees with multiple redundant lines of sight. Dragonfly achieves extremely accurate modeling of the night sky emissions. So this is just a cool idea. So as you can imagine, it's a bunch of these lenses all put together kind of in a bubble, and they all point at the same thing, and then you take the picture with, 24, 48 different cameras that are all kind of focused together, and then, through artificial intelligence and other imaging processing techniques, you pull together and create an image. And that I thought was pretty
cool.
But how I stumbled on this, and this will be something fun part 2, is I was looking at raspberrypi.com, and they had a note about a PhD student who built a Dragonfly Spectral Line Mapper. And basically, it's based on the Dragonfly telephoto array, which was developed to find clues to the distribution and nature of dark matter in the universe. We already talked about that. But what this one And it also mentions that those lenses all point to the sky. Together, that mosaic of lenses is equivalent to a 1 meter telescope. So that's a pretty good sized
Wow.
telescope. And a 1 meter telescope, it claims here, has a starting price of around $500,000. So for a significantly less dollar amount than $500,000, you can build the equivalent. And so this this Dragonfly Spectral Line Mapper, was originally designed. The original Dragonflies designed to look at starlight. This spectral line mapper, it looks at gas. And so special filters were added to target a specific wavelength of light, allowing imaging of the glow of gas around the galaxies. And the gas this Dragonfly Spectral Line Mapper is looking for is called the circumgalactic medium. And this is a huge reservoir of gas and plasma that surrounds the galaxy, a galaxy. And you can, this medium acts as a barrier between galaxies. I'm kind of paraphrasing as I read here. Between galaxies and the space between them, which is sometimes called intergalactic space. The circumgalactic medium is really diffused and faint, making it hard to observe, but if you combine the strength of Dragonfly's multiple lenses and the special filters, that not only can you observe this elusive gas, but you can also take a picture of it. And so
What?
when they added these gas-seeking filters to the original Dragonfly design, that wasn't the only change that they had done. They switched from Intel compute sticks to Raspberry Pis, and that's how it ended up in the Raspberry Pi .com news portion of their website. Each lens, the new in the new design, acts as an independent subsystem with its own focuser, camera, and Raspberry Pi computer. So there's more in the Raspberry Pi, but between those two, go check out and read up on the Dragonfly telephoto array and this smaller, much less expensive one, although not cheap. Spectral line mapper to look at gas, circumgalactic medium between galaxies, or that surrounds galaxies. Anyways, I thought it was cool. It's space. It's Dragonfly, it's insects, it's space, it's gas.
Wow. This is cool. I'm just, I want to see some pictures. I want to see, they got lots of pictures of them building it. I want to see pictures of the intergalactic gas, or the circumgalactic medium.
Yeah, I think down at the bottom, you can go, where is it? Yeah, down at the bottom, it has a couple of papers with additional information and data about the M81 and M82 galaxies.
Interesting.
So, anyways, I thought it was fun.
Okay. All right. I gotta not look at this scientific paper. Okay.
There you go.
A giant shell of ionized gas discovered near M82 with the Dragonfly Spectral Line Mapper Pathfinder. Okay, very
Bunch
cool.
of Raspberry Pis.
Very cool. Okay, that is so much more cool and fun than my something fun that I feel embarrassed. Okay. What I chose, so, I don't yet have an electric car. I guess we have a hybrid. With my wife has a hybrid car, but one of the problems with, so we're all driving around electric cars, and you're going to go park at the airport for a week. How are you going to charge?
Right.
Are they going to put power at every single parking lot in the entire airport? Probably not. Maybe you shouldn't be driving to the airport and parking your car for a week, but there's, as the large parking lots around here show, that happens. So this is I'm going to go with a semi-autonomous robot that can drive around, clearly big battery pack. So, think Roomba, but with a very large battery, I guess, that can drive around, kind of park itself behind an electric car and then charge it. So I presume that eventually you'll be able to sort of, either do this as you're leaving or pay to have it done before you return. because it did say something about it requires a human to actually plug it in. So there's no standard way of the robot plugging itself in yet, at least.
The robot just shows up.
Yeah. Robot
says,
shows up
"Do
and a human has to do the actual connecting and presumably disconnecting.
And I was going to say, and then I assume disconnecting.
Yeah, but that's probably, I don't know, some person walking around the parking lot all day going, all right, go click.
I guess it doesn't have to be the owner of the vehicle to disconnect.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. The two funny things I thought about this was I don't know, the robots look kind of cool, but you know what they did on them is they put a big screen so they can show advertisements on the screen.
Oh, of course they did.
I don't know. I just think of like the by and large, I don't know. There's advertisements everywhere. But anyway, so it's a vending machine on wheels, a power vending machine on wheels. So let's see.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's called ZiGGY Stardust, I guess. One of the world's busiest airports will soon showcase an innovative, undeniably cute way to speed up travelers' entrances and exits. First announced earlier this month, Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport is partnering with EV Safe Charge to demonstrate how the company's mobile electric vehicle charging station, ZiGGY, could be deployed in public spaces to economically and conveniently power up consumers' parked cars. Let's see. Resembles a large vending machine on wheels. Blah blah blah. Yeah. So there's a short video and some pictures in the article, but it basically just looks like a rectangular solid, presumably full of batteries, with a charging port on it, and presumably it goes from one car to another and then goes back and charges, and they could have a whole fleet of these, ranging around a large parking structure and area, and you don't have to actually build infrastructure. Or you can centralize the infrastructure you do build.
Right. Is
kind of the point.
So you as the electric car owner don't have to find the specific spot to charge your car. You can park wherever.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, you're driving into, I don't know, you drive into a parking garage and there's the 5 electric car spots at the front,
and
all of which are taken because, that's the way it is. So, yeah, I don't know. So that seems, and I could totally see that being more useful in places other than airports too. Just, and way, way, way less in hard infrastructure. The question is, vandalism, how will they, how autonomous can they be, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, there you go. I think, it reminds me, I don't know if if I've mentioned on the podcast, when I first started working for HP in the 90s, they had this was long before Roombas, but they had, autonomous robots that were responsible for bringing, this was in the inkjet factory, bringing materials to various assembly lines. And they were called frogs, free ranging on grid. And they had like a colored floor on the floor of some of the buildings. Uh-huh. And they had a lily pad. I think they call it the lily pad, where they would go back and charge. And then they would, the robots would come out and move around. And I always thought that was really cool. But anyway, it was cool.
The future.
The future is now old man.
The future has been around for a while.
The future has been around since the 90s. But, it's getting there.
Yeah.
All right. All right, my friend. Shall we call it a show?
Yeah, we'll call it.
All right.
Have a good rest of your week, and we'll talk to you later.
All right. Sounds good. Talk to you later, Eric. Bye.
Bye.